Hello, everybody. How are you guys doing? We have some awesome people in the chat already, and I'm so glad that you are all here to join me for a special reading of The Night Before Christmas. This just is so exciting. So we have Patrick from Trusty Huckster Mercantile, and Misty from Thrifter, Junker, Vintage Hunter, and Kellie from Moss Stone Story. And I think it would be fun while we're saying hello to some people in the chat if you want to show your books and tell a little bit about your edition.
The dog is not mine. So my edition is 1995, so barely vintage, but this is the family edition of the book. What we did as the Huckster Helper was growing up, we had an advent calendar of books. So we would pull a different book every day. We had 25 books, and this was one that was always part of the collection. So I'm reading from the 1995 edition of Twas the Night Before Christmas.
Wonderful.
You want me to go next? Mine is it's a newly acquired book that I just recently purchased at an antique mall. I'm actually keeping it. I love the graphics on the inside. It is The Night Before Christmas, made by Artcraft, and it's dated, I think, 1965 is when it is.
Oh, that's wonderful. And Kellie?
I have a gorgeous copy from 1945 that was originally 19 cents. And this was produced by the Merrill Company. And this is a stunner.
That is beautiful. So tonight I am reading from the 1960s Whitman version that was my grandmother's, that she read to my mom and to myself when we were growing up. And it is so special because my grandmother, Beverly, is watching tonight for the first time, seeing me live on YouTube. And she did such a great job reading to us as a kid. So Grandma, thank you for instilling the love of reading and books to us, and all the wonderful things you did, and all your fabulous Christmas wrapping to make each Christmas extra special. I wish I could be with you this year on Christmas, but I hope that you feel the love all the way from my apartment and wonderful people from around the world here on YouTube.
Hi, Beverly.
Merry Christmas, Beverly.
Hi, Grandma Beverly.
So I see in the chat we have Sarah has joined us from Vintage Crazed, and Roz, my grandmother's caretaker, who is here with us, and Grandma, and my mom is in the chat, and there's Lori, Blue Flamingo Mercantile, and Jeannie from Norma Jean Plus One, and Polly's Projects, hello, and Aaron's here from the collection Vintage. Welcome, Aaron. And the chat goes by so fast. Hi, Jennifer. You're a new name. Welcome to the chat. And I'm sure, Jennifer Lab Mama is here. Hello. And so, Kim from Oh My Vintage. Kim, your mystery boxes are really fun to watch you open those. I'm so glad you won. And the Thrifting Librarian. And Melissa is here. Hello, Melissa and Michelle. And Steve is here. How's Michelle doing, Steve? And Carrie. Yes, hello, Carrie. And Helen Casey. And I'm sorry, Helen, I missed your chat. Superior Girl Vintage, Rachel. And Nate from New Zealand is here. Hi, Nate. And Dawn Schonkweiler from the Just One More Dachshund Rescue. And Trisha from San Diego, and so many other people are in the chat. Thank you all for joining us, and it's so fun having you here. And thank you, Patrick, Misty, and Kellie, for doing this. I think it's so much fun to enjoy The Night Before Christmas. Did you guys read this growing up when you were kids?
Absolutely.
It is. It's just a classic. Well, since we have 51 people watching, would you like to get started?
Sure.
Okay. Well, guys, this is our reading of The Night Before Christmas. This Night Before Christmas was written by Clement Seymour, and what's interesting about him is he actually did not claim that he wrote it until the later 1800s. It was originally written in 1823, and then it took many years for people to actually discover that he was the one to write this fabulous Christmas poem. So we shall get started now with our reading of The Night Before Christmas. 'Twas the night before Christmas when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse.
The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there.
The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while vision of sugar plums danced in their heads.
And Mama in her kerchief and I in my cap had just settled down for a long winter's nap.
When out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, I sprang from my bed to see what was the matter.
Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters, and threw up the sash.
The moon on the breast of the new fallen snow gave the luster of midday to objects below.
When what to my wondering eye should appear?
But a miniature sleigh and a tiny reindeer.
With a little old driver so lively and quick, I knew in a moment it must be St. Nick.
More rapid than eagles his coursers they came, and he whistled and shouted and called them by name.
Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer and Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, and Donner and Blitzen.
To the top of the porch, to the top of the wall. Now dash away, dash away, dash away, oh.
As dry leaves that before the wild hurricane fly, when they meet with an obstacle, mount to the sky.
So up to the housetop the coursers they flew, with the sleigh full of toys, and St. Nicholas too.
And then in a twinkling, I heard on the roof the prancing and pawing of each little hoof.
As I drew in my hand and was turning around, down the chimney St. Nicholas came with a bound.
He was dressed all in fur, from his head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot.
A bundle of toys he had flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his pack.
His eyes, how they twinkled, his dimples, how merry. His cheeks were like roses, and his nose like a cherry.
His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow, and the beard of his chin was as white as snow.
The stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth, and the smoke, it encircled his head like a wreath.
He had a broad face and a little round belly that shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly.
He was a chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him in spite of myself.
A wink of his eye and a twist of his head soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread.
He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work and filled all the stockings, then turned with a jerk.
And laying his finger aside of his nose and giving a nod up the chimney he rose.
He sprang to his sleigh, to his team gave a whistle, and they flew like the down of a thistle.
But I heard him exclaim, ere he drove out of sight, "Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night." Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. Oh, this was so much fun. All of you did a fantastic job. And it was so fun reading this. What is your favorite line from The Night Before Christmas?
Well, I did want to change from
I
like
like
a peddler just opening his pack. I wanted to change it to a huckster, but I thought that would be wrong.
That's right.
I was like the bowl full. He laughed like a bowl full of like a belly full of jelly. That was
Me
always
too.
my favorite part. I always liked that part as a kid.
Plump jolly old elf.
Yes, I think that's so much fun. People are having some amazing comments here. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Dina's here, and my mom and, of course, lots of other people in the chat are just enjoying this so much. So thank you all for doing this. I think it was just a lot of fun to read. And you can't have Christmas without the night before Christmas at all. Definitely a favorite story of mine. And you
It's a
can
classic.
listen to albums as well. Perry Como did a wonderful version of The Night Before Christmas that's on vinyl that I so enjoy. So it's so great to have everybody here in the chat. And I think it would be fun. Yes, definitely such a great community. I totally agree. Yes, going to buy this copy of book as soon as this is over, a vintage copy. Well, Misty, you were saying that some of those vintage copies can go for a pretty penny online.
Yeah, like the one that you were reading from, Katie, the giant, there's one that's a little bit bigger. It's the giant Whitman book. It's just a little bit taller. It sells for well over $150 for the hardback version from 1960. So yeah, I always say don't underestimate books. Books are good. Books can be very, very good. But it's just fun to just find these vintage copies because the illustrations are just so good in them. They're so good.
They really are. The graphics are everything, I think.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's nothing like a good Whitman. Whitman's great.
Whitman is great. Whitman is great. Yes.
Well, Whitman's the parent company to the Golden Books, isn't it?
Yep.
That's right. They actually bought Whitman. There was like a merger, and that Whitman was really big into making puzzles.
Mm-hmm.
And during the Depression, that's what kept Whitman alive and actually helped Little Golden Book get to be what it needed to be because of, puzzles during the Depression. A lot of people don't know that, but people were willing to spend money on one thing, and that was puzzles.
That's
kind of like that now. A little bit.
I know. I find that highly ironic. But yes, if you go back to the Great Depression, there is a lot of information about how puzzles were really an important part. And if you were going to buy something for your family, I mean, you think about it, you could do a puzzle over and over again. It's engaging. It's, stimulating. So, yeah.
Puzzles are big right now, especially with everybody staying at home. I agree.
Yeah. And they're saying, the highest sales are now. And then the last highest sales were actually during the Great Depression. And that really made Little Golden Book be able to do Little Golden Book.
Yeah, it's amazing now what we're all going back to. I think that's kind of a fun thing, is to go back to the physical books and puzzles and media. There's something so wonderful about the tactile experience of holding a book or something physical in your hand. And
I've never been a Kindle person. I got to have a book in my hand.
Yeah, I need paper. I still have legal pads when I take notes for videos. I can't do anything on my computer.
Yep.
Me too.
And smelling the pages. Like to smell the pages of a book.
And Patrick, you work with a company that has a library that has a large collection of Little Golden Books, don't you?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I was just working with them today. It's the Racine Public Library, which is where the Whitman Company and Golden Books used to be headquartered. And they currently work with us. They buy 2 copies of every Golden Book that's published, which they're still being published. And I was just dealing with that library today. So it's even though the library's closed and only offering curbside services, they still need to make sure they're getting their Golden Books because it's one of the most popular items they have to circulate.
That's amazing. Now, and people can check out some of those Golden Books?
Yeah, so they buy 2 copies. One goes into the archive, so those would be the brand new first edition, not touched. But then they also buy one that then we process for them, so put the spine labels, and they are totally able to be checked out. And they've got a great display case, 2 great display cases where they actually are displaying every copy of every Golden Book that's ever been published. They're the only known collection of every Golden Book that's ever been published is at that library.
That's amazing. Kellie, wouldn't you like to go there?
Oh, I told Patrick that we needed to go for our 50th birthday, but you know what? We couldn't do it because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
So he better take me on a date.
Field trip, absolutely. I'll take everybody. We all meet in Racine. We
I
can
love that.
get Michelle
Oh.
from Comfy Cozy to do a little side trip, and all converge upon Racine.
Lots of people are saying that they love the smell
Oh,
of
yeah.
old, and it's so true. I always sniff books
Listen.
because they have such a good smell.
And Kelly can probably relate to this too. You know, when the good old Scholastic book order came in, and you're sorting all your students' books, and you can smell those pages. Oh, I don't know. I just love that smell.
And the free poster, make sure they
I
get the
miss
free
that smell.
poster.
There's also a texture of pages that are really nice. I love like the texture that's in this Whitman book here. I think that this kind of almost cardboardy textures is really wonderful on the hands. That seems so minuscule and small, but it's just wonderful.
And do you know
Well, they just
that
don't
a
make
book
books like
is,
they used to.
do you know a book is responsible for creating the way we celebrate Christmas right now? And I'm not talking about the Bible. The way we traditionally celebrate Christmas in modern times, it was a Christmas carol written in 1843, Charles Dickens. It immediately, just was a popular book. And the feasts and festivities, Christmas wasn't, it was a very religious situation, but it wasn't, as festive, and there wasn't as much of the gift giving and that kind of thing. And that novel by Charles Dickens really changed the way in which our modern society celebrates Christmas.
That is amazing. I was just talking with my friend today, and he loves old plays, and he was looking at several that weren't copyrighted so he could work on doing the costume.
Dickens is not copyrighted. It's free to do.
Yep, and he was discovering Alice in Wonderland is now officially, I think, of last year, it's not copyrighted anymore. He was excited about that.
And in Victorian times, do you know what the most popular type of Christmas story was to tell?
I would think something a little bit darker
Krampus?
than we would imagine.
Ghost stories.
Krampus.
Well, especially, Krampus, but the Victorians loved the ghost stories. There's carols that have a whole, sit around, telling ghost stories. And ghost stories, there was a big fascination with ghosts and the afterlife, and Christmas being Yule and being, also, the dark days of winter. So there was a big fascination. And also, quite honestly, a lot of people froze over winter if it was bad, or they starved. So there was a big fascination with that. So let's
Jacob Marley was dead to begin with.
Exactly.
Kick off the story.
It's funny that Michelle said she played Mrs. Cratchit. I was Mrs. Cratchit about 4 years ago, and my son was Tiny Tim.
Really?
Aw.
Aw, how cute.
He's not
We,
like tiny anymore.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
we used to go every year to hear that play. We have a local community theater that does it. And we would always kid each other about going because it was a dinner theater. So they would bus all the schools in and you'd get lunch with your meal. But that was before they kind of revamped everything. And we'd always say, okay, we're going to the place to watch the Christmas play with the rubber chicken. Because bless their heart, they tried, but the food was horrible. Now they've got a really good chef, and it's such a lovely place to go in Jacksonville. But I remember that in the 6th grade.
Since Kelly brought up the contemporary Christmas, wasn't it, Katie? Wasn't it Coca-Cola? Their advertisements that basically established the look of what Santa Claus became?
Yes, Coca-Cola did establish Santa, because before then Santa was much skinnier and different than we see him now. And their idea to kind of plump him up and add a little bit more jolly to Santa made people really latch on to what Santa Claus looks like today.
I have a 1919 version right around the corner. Do you want me to get it to show
Oh,
you?
yes, please.
Okay.
Yeah, he was more like Father Christmas, or like an old world Christmas, like a Victorian style. He's much more fun. It's just more fun, much more fun to be round and plump.
That's right, more jolly.
Right.
I love the Santas you find, Misty. They are fabulous.
Well, I took a risk buying all of those, and it ended up being a pretty good risk. But yeah, they were a lot of fun. I kind of wanted to keep all of them, but that's a little ridiculous.
You can't. But wouldn't it be fun to have a magical display of just all of those Russian Santas on a shelf?
Okay, I have a midweek pictorial.
Oh, yeah.
And this was done by the New York Times Company. It was one of their papers that they owned. This is Christmas 1919. And this is the paper. The whole paper's in here. It's so thin and frail. But yeah, that's the cover.
That is amazing. Where did you find that
stash on him?
My little ephemera man at my antique flea market. And he pretty much
little
just gave
ephemera
it to
man.
me.
She got it from a little ephemera man.
My little ephemera man, my dealer.
So I actually don't know the answer. When did Coca-Cola establish that look?
You start to see him in the late 40s, early 50s in my research of
Oh, I thought he was earlier than that. Okay.
and he could be slightly earlier, but that is what I have found looking things up online with Santa. And then you have the Sprite Boy, which he was also brought about to bring people a lot of merriment, but he was only around during the war. So you don't see him after the war. Although I think he's a little creepy looking for my taste, to be honest.
I mean, I think he's pretty fabulous, but yeah, the little Sprite guys, I'm surprised that they're not worth more money than what they are.
Yeah, you would think that they go for more money, but I think that people like some of the more classic Coca-Cola things. I need an ephemera man with old cigarette cards. Yeah.
Oh, I am going to be doing something on old cigarette cards. I've been collecting those in Victorian calling cards. And I don't get them from him. I found another place that has them. So
Yeah. Two ephemera mans.
no, he's not. This is a
She's got another
woman
little
that has a
ephemera man. You probably get better deals from the ephemera man than you do from the ephemera woman.
Ephemera woman's never met me. She has a booth and she already has good deals and she gives them to everyone.
Oh.
So,
Oh, well, great.
Dana's asking, what are cigarette cards?
so they're just actually little like promotional art pieces that were kind of, think of like the like a baseball card plus like a Cracker Jack prize. It was a little collectible image. They would do themed ones for the holidays. They would do, transportation was really big. They did some war ones. So yeah, they were just little cards. Another gimmick to get you to smoke because people wanted to collect those cards. And but I mean, they have beautiful ones of Victorian women and florals and anything you can think of. I've got some with fish that are really cool. So yeah,
I was
another
curious though, is how to
dangerous
make porcelain. It was all the steps of producing porcelain.
Really?
I can't imagine who would be smoking, collecting those, but
Listen,
they've got everything.
smoking was classy back in the day. It was like debonair and classy back in the day before, it wasn't. But
I may have to coordinate with Kellie because we were planning a deep dive on vintage cards, cigarette cards as well. The cigarette cards that were donated by Vintagerous for the fundraiser for Just One More Dachshund
Oh,
Rescue.
I didn't realize that.
That was the highest. That sold for the most money was the collection of the cigarette cards.
Oh, okay.
Wow, that's amazing. Yes, these cigarette cards that I just showed, I didn't show all of them, but were gifted to me by Nate in New Zealand. So that's why he was saying that these look so familiar. Because he gave me a whole set of these, which are just fabulous.
Yeah, I think almost all of the ones I have are British, or they're all from overseas. I don't know if I've got any American ones. I'd have to look, but I think they were more common in England.
Yeah, there were definitely American ones, but yeah, the British held on to smoking a little longer, I think, than we did too.
Yeah, up until I think the early 90s, they still had smoking sections and non-smoking sections. And I remember here when our Cracker Barrel got rid of the smoking section, it still smelled like smoke for the longest amount of time.
All those antiques in there. Oh.
So Vinny's saying he has a Washington McBride cigarette card from 1906 or 1907.
I'm watching.
And Nancy from This Overstuffed House was saying she was looking for, I lost the comment, but she was saying she was looking for Boy Scout cigarette cards. Have you seen those before?
I don't think I have any. I don't think I've seen any.
I don't think I have any scouting, and I'm really big into scouting memorabilia, and I don't think I have any scouting, but I have some military.
Yeah, look. Who was asking for it?
That's Nancy at This Overstuffed.
Oh, Nancy. Okay.
Yes, she's looking for that. And then Carrie is saying, yes, Joni from Vintagerous, she does collect the chocolate cards and the cigarette cards. She's had quite a few of them on her sales, those cigarette cards, which are fun.
Yeah, she was the one that donated. They were two series of dogs cigarette cards, and two different series. I can't remember the total number that she donated, but it was a fairly large collection. And yeah, those actually sold, and it brought in the most amount of money for a single item in that fundraiser we ran.
Wow.
That is awesome.
And I don't know if people know, but there are other cards that look a lot like the cigarette cards that are collectible. And they're actually called merit cards. And they were used almost like modern day stickers for teachers in one-room schoolhouses. So they would write on it sometimes and say, you did a great job paying attention today. And you don't think of school being like that back in the day. But yeah, merit cards are really neat. And they're often a little bigger than cigarette cards. But if you see something with a neat image on it, and if it says merit card, it might not. And the other thing that is really cool about it is often you'll see the student's name and the teacher's name, the last names will match, because so often teachers had their children in their classroom because you had all grades.
Wow, that's fascinating. I did not know
I need
that.
somebody to give me a card that says, congratulations, you paid attention today.
Stayed on task.
You stayed on
Yeah.
task today. Good job.
I loved watching your video you just did on Instagram with your daughter opening the friend mail. It was hilarious watching her reaction of the squeaker.
Yes.
She definitely not having the squeaker that you got in
No,
the mail.
she gets very annoyed with me very, very, very easily. Very easily. She's sitting right here just rolling her eyes.
Mary Beth is saying, Laura, you aren't good enough for a merit.
You know what? I'm going to find one and send it to her, darn it.
Yeah.
You need to give her a merit card.
Demerit.
No fighting.
Coal will be coming your way.
You might be getting something for Christmas. Nate says, I still have my old Boy Scout woggle my father carved for me. That's neat, Nate. Nate has a lot of treasures in his cabinet. He really does.
They're like museum displays.
They really
They're
are.
amazing.
Bye, CJ. No worries. Well, guys, thank you so much for being with me. I don't want to take up too much of the evening. I know there are other things going on this evening. George's premiere is at 8 o'clock, and I want to make sure people get their education from Uncle Professor George tonight, of course, as Misty says, and so many people in our community, and other things I'm sure happening this Wednesday. I think Nancy at This Overstuffed House is having a sale at 9 p.m. right after George's premiere, so that's going to be so much fun, and I can't wait to see you all in a future video. So would you guys like to promote anything you guys have coming up on your channels?
I will probably be
next
having
week off.
the last sale of the year for me will be tomorrow night, because mine are always on Thursdays, and then the next Thursday is Christmas Eve, and then the next Thursday is New Year's Eve. So probably my next sale will be tomorrow night. That'll be last for the year. So 8 p.m. Eastern on the Trusty Huckster Mercantile YouTube channel. And not even another deep dive before the end of the year. So that's all. I think that's it for me. Maybe a couple, pop-up haul videos or something, but that's it for organized.
I'm
on sabbatical.
I was going to do a couple more decorating videos for Christmas. And then if I can get it done, I'm hoping, I have a postcard, Christmas postcard, vintage and antique. So you can learn about how to date them and what the value is on them. And I'm really trying hard to get a Frozen Charlotte video to you before Christmas.
Yeah.
It might land right after Christmas.
Fun.
That's going to be wonderful. And Misty, you
That's
deserve
exciting.
a break after all your sales. You've been doing 3 sales a week. It's pretty amazing.
Well, I mean, it's been 3 sales a week, but I'm basically selling the same amount of things. Just I've spread it out, but I don't know. It's been a lot. It's been a lot. So, yeah, I'm taking next week. I will still have some content a couple of days next week, but I'm taking a little bit of a breather, and then after Christmas, we'll be right back in the saddle again.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you guys for coming on. We can say goodbye to the people for now. And I hope you guys will join me on Christmas Eve. I will be doing a Christmas light tour from here. So I will be taking you down to St. Augustine for the Night of Light. I'll be filming that. And also there's a really epic neighborhood that should be on something like Christmas Light Fight, because they do some amazing whole immersive displays. So I drove through there the other night and got some fantastic footage for you all. So I'll be doing that on Christmas Eve. But I thank you all so much for joining us. 3 rounds of applause for Patrick from Trusty Huckster Mercantile, Kellie from Mossstone Story Vintage, and Misty from Thrifter Junker Vintage Hunter. Much love to all of you guys, and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas,
Merry
everybody.
Christmas.